Hey guys, this is Chesney Hawks here. You are watching My Hammers 11 with the one and only Russ.
Yes, everybody, Russ on the West End Network. Hope you are all safe and well. If you're new, Andy, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a good subscribe, all that good stuff. Obviously, we've got tomorrow, and I thought tonight would be a welcome distraction from your sleepless nights. And anyone out there in Amsterdam, hope you're enjoying yourself. I'm sure there's a huge queue for the Anne Frank Museum lining up. I see what I love. I'm sure that's where they're or there's probably a massive queue for the Anne Frank Museum. Picture taken outside, and you walk round the corner, down across over the canal, and you're in the fun bit. But anyway, I hope you enjoy that. We'll have a watch along and all that type of stuff coming up very, very shortly. But we've got another My Hammers 11. We've had over 100 ex-players. I'm working my way through the club ambassadors. I've only got a couple more, like Pokemon. Almost caught them all. And today is a really special one because when this player played, that was when I started supporting West Ham, and Anton as well. Hopefully we'll get Anton on in a bit. So he's that's that whole sort of 92-93 season team really has a place in my heart. We had a great night back in December with all of them, and this man in particular, let me bring him in. He's the current under-23 lead coach. I think that's his title now. Mark Robson. Robbo, how are you doing, mate?
Hello, Russ. How you doing, pal?
Thanks for good, man. Absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Obviously, people watching, if you've got any questions for Robbo, put them in the thing. We'll try to get through to them. How are you? How is it? Do you put your feet up now? Because your season's finished, isn't it? Your season finished last week.
Yeah, the games are finished. We had our last game against Tottenham on the 7th, but we're still in and around. Just obviously because of the first team, supporting the first team.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of boys that have gone out to India at the moment as well. So my group is I think I've got 2 injuries and 6 that are able to train, but they're there just to support the first team sort of for the remainder of the season.
Fantastic. Yeah, as you said, it's been in terms of the under 23 / under 21. It keeps changing the names all the time, it seems to me. But that season's been a tough season. But obviously, you stayed up. Tottenham went down. Some things never changed, did they? Lasagna Gate. But obviously, we know the great under 18s that come through. A number of them will be obviously progressing full time to your squad. It's going to be a great season next year, shouldn't it, for you boys?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, we've had a lot of the under 18s already playing this season for the under 21. So it's been a really good. It's been a tough season for them because physically we're playing against some teams. I mean, we went to Blackburn. You're allowed to play 5 overage players. I think they had 4 24-year-olds, 1 23-year-old, and the rest were under 21. So, and when I say under 21, it was 21, 21, 20s. I think it was 119. So we had on the day, if I remember rightly, I think we had Caelan Casey was still, I think Caelan was 17. Regan was 17. So we had Callum Marshall 17. I mean, it was a real baby team, to be honest with you, and in the nicest sense of the word.
Oh,
and the younger lads come in, and we just felt that the back end of the season we'll be a little bit stronger, which after Christmas we were. It sort of all panned out how we thought, really, and luckily for us, we survived on the last day. We should have been safe probably 2 games before that, to be fair, Russ. But we drew at Palace when we were 3-1 up and they had 10 men, and we could have put it to bed that day, to be fair. So it's been a great season. We've had a number of players that have played in the first team. It's it would be great if 1 or 2 could maybe stay in there a little bit longer, but of course that'll come in time, no doubt. But overall, it's been a success, and obviously with the 18s, it's been an unbelievable season.
Yeah, no, it has been, and it's quite funny that you said in terms of staying up the under in terms of the PL2. Should have done it a couple of games earlier, just like the men's side, just like the first team, innit? Just like the first team. God bless them. But as you said, that's great, and it must be, for you guys. I mean, I remember when we had that really good event that Len hosted back in back in December, and it was like you, Potsy, there was Kenny, and there was Kevin, all talking about the youth, and then like Mad Dog for some reason was in there as well. But like you were saying, how it was, seeing the players develop, and as you said, this season, a number have been playing for Moisey, and that must be. I mean, that's the whole point of the academy, isn't it? Really,
Absolutely. That's the name of the game. Really, it's for me this year, it was about not so much about the results in terms of 3 points. It was more about the performances and watching the players develop and hopefully developing where they get an opportunity to train with the first team and obviously get an opportunity to play for them. And you look at Ollie Scholes, who played in the international game when we'd sort of won the leagues, and it was a freebie, really. It was a free hit. You got Ollie that done exceptionally well. He was 16 at the time, and he'd been playing for myself and for Kev, and that was it. That was the name of the game. So results weren't that important. They are important because we want to breed a winning group, and but the main thing was about these players developing and learning and gaining more expertise around how they play. More tools they can put to their game, and we feel like we've done that this year, and we feel like we're going to have a really strong group next season as well.
Yeah, and you alluded to it. I think obviously, until 18s, you are playing in your own age group, really. And as you said, when you develop, as you said, when the 21s, I think that Tottenham game, I think Lucas Moura was playing for Tottenham at the time, for that game. So as you said, physically, I think that's where the next step, isn't it, for these boys, the 18s physically. I mean, you look at someone like Patrick Kelly. He's a very, very slight kid. As I said, it's about the next development physically for these guys, isn't it? They're still young lads, aren't they? Really, they're still.
Absolutely, and I think when we were playing Tottenham, the boys were sort of saying, would they play first team players? And I said to them, I want them to play first team players, because if you're playing against, if there was a few more in the team, maybe 3 or 4 playing against us, which wouldn't have surprised me, because Tottenham have played quite a few of the players who have been involved with the first team for most of the season, or certainly the back end of the season. For me, it's a great opportunity for these boys to really show what they can do. I watched them train with the first team on a number of occasions this year, and honestly, I can honestly say they've done so well. The first team staff have come back and have been really pleased with the boys. So it would have been great if there had been a few more against them, and we had got the result we needed to put to keep them down as well. So, but that's what it's about. It's about them gaining those experiences, playing against experienced Premier League players. And hopefully making their way into our first team where they've had some kind of experience prior to that, and it helps them on their journey.
Yeah, totally. Now, obviously, for maybe the younger age group, we'll say, Mark, nicely, probably didn't know that actually, yourself and many of the obviously around the sort of academy squads in terms of the coaching staff are actually former players. I mean, there's one in every age group, which is phenomenal. And obviously yourself, West Ham born and bred, really, wasn't it? Like Upton Park, you were born, wasn't it? Really?
I was born. I was born actually in Stratford. Yeah, I was born at home actually in Stratford, and I lived Stratford Plaistow, literally just around the corner from Upton Park. 5 minutes. I mean, it was my local team. Used to go there every week. My dad first took me when I was 7. And it sort of grew from there, really. So, to play for West Ham was an unbelievable achievement for me, and something I'll never forget. It was probably the greatest. It was the best time of my career as a player. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, and obviously growing up as a kid, so it's from the age of 7. Obviously West Ham being your club, your old man being a West Ham fan, and living around the area. Who were your idols growing up? Because that's a question someone always asks me to ask me. I thought getting there quickly.
Well, to be fair, I used to love watching Alan Devonshire, and he was a winger, and I played on the wing. So Dev was one of my big favourites. I love Trevor Brooking. I just thought he was such a classy act, a real class player. And of course, I can't really forget Billy Bonds. Bill was everything that epitomises West Ham, I think, and the way the fans want to see their teams play and their players play. So, I mean, real big idols of mine as a kid growing up.
Yeah, and as you said, and that's what I think. That's what I think is great about the academy now. Maybe not so a few years ago, in all honesty, but I think now this sort of new crop, so to speak. And so you said, the coaching yourself. You got Pottsy, you got Kevin, you got Kenny, you got Colton, you got Zavon, you got all these players, all these ex players, and as you said, someone like yourselves, West Ham born and bred, developing the young kids into hopefully first team, and people like Mark Phillips as well, massive West Ham fan as well. And that's what I think is great. We're in a world where football is a bit more I think a lot of the passion and commercialism takes over. At West Ham, it's still very much a family. That academy is just such a family club, and I love it. I love the fact. I love seeing all you guys like pre-match. All the I remember like when Kevin won the FA Cup and obviously the Youth FA Cup, and all you guys, like, he walked in and everyone clapped. Everyone clapped, and it was just so nice to see, man. I love all that stuff. It's brilliant.
There's a really good amongst the academy. There's such a great camaraderie. I mean, my role, Stevie Potts' role with the 21s, but linking it with the under 18s has probably been one of the best this year. Has been one of the best that I've probably worked in.
Brilliant.
And I've worked at various different places, but the communication between us and the way we go about doing things, the way we're looking to try and move players up the pathway at the right time, and has been brilliant. It's been so good this year, and I think we've got most things right around what it looks like. There's probably one. To be fair, the last game against Man City, I had boys that played for me on the Sunday, and in hindsight, it would have been good if I could have left one or two of those out, because they played against one of the best team in academy football, right the way through. And I thought first half we were excellent. I said to Kev, I thought we were really good, Kev. We were the better team. It looked like we had better players. I just felt we ran out of puff, to be fair, going into extra time. And, they brought some really strong players on, that didn't in any shape or form weaken their team. In fact, they probably enhanced it a bit more, and physically. Whereas we built one or two that perhaps in the physical department are not quite there yet. And I just maybe in hindsight it would have been good to have rested those boys and not played for me on Sunday. The only problem is I didn't have enough players.
Yeah, exactly.
So and of course as well, some of those players have been playing all the time in the 21s, near enough every game, and have done exceptionally well, and have gone beyond some of the older ones. Like the competition has got so much stronger.
That's brilliant. No, you're totally right. I mean, it was almost like that Man City game was almost like, it seemed like a game too far from the out. It just seemed, and I mean, I spoke to Patrick afterwards, and he was saying that, just gutted because it would have just been the icing on the cake, but he'll have that time at the Emirates, and when 7,000 West Ham fans, it was an incredible night, and we took over that. We could have solved that 2-3 times over our allocation.
Absolutely.
It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal that night, and they'll always have that. And it seemed that City won, and it was only afterwards I read that they'd done that 3 years in a row in terms of winning the Nationals. So
they're the top team, Russ. They're perhaps what everybody would want to try to aspire to, and it was always going to be a tough game. And but again, for those who watched it, I'm sure they would have seen first half how good we were. I mean, we were so good. The boys were brilliant. I thought Kevin and his staff set the boys up fantastically well, and we showed that we've got some really good quality in and amongst our academy.
Most definitely, and you see that. I mean, we've obviously heard about Mark and talking about the pathway, and you see it. You can see it. There's some cracking players, and as I said, there's obviously people like kids like Mbama is obviously developing. He's had a lot more first team football than maybe some of the others, but you can just see there's I mean, I'm not picking anyone out, but I like Callum Marshall. I just think he's got that sort of. He reminds me like Craig Bellamy. He's just that, he just never leaves anyone alone. I think he's brilliant. But we don't like picking anyone up, but I like Craig Bellamy. I like him. Right. So anyway, let's go back to playing for West Ham. So obviously, big West Ham fan. Obviously, then got into football, went to Spurs, and then a few loan moves, and then the call came for West Ham. This must be like the manna from heaven for you, really, as a player.
It was. I I lived in Beckton, and I was at Tottenham from I moved, left home at 16, went to Exeter for 2 years, and I went to Tottenham. And my wife, who we were childhood sweethearts, to be fair, and 12 when we started going out with each other, and we lived in Beckton. I used to drive her every day, every single morning before I went to work, to Upton Park Station. And I used to drop her at the station. Every time I drive past the station or past the ground, I used to just sort of drive and quick look at the ground. And she often said to me, "What are you doing?" And why do you keep looking there? And I said, "I'm going to play there one day. I'm going to play there one day." And I did. That's the gospel and his truth. That was it.
Love
Was
it.
it was. And when Tottenham let me go, it's a bit of a funny story, really. When I was at Spurs, Jamie Redknapp, and I didn't know who Jamie was. I would have only been 19 myself, and Jamie come and played. I think he would have been 15 at the time. But we played in a game. I think it was at Basingstoke to unveil some new floodlights that they had, and he came on for about the last 30 minutes of the game. And he was unbelievable. And I knew he was 15. And I actually said to him after the game, you could play in his team every single week, by the way. You're a top player. And I didn't know who he was. I really didn't know who he was. And then Harry spoke to me. I went on loan somewhere, and he pulled me, and he'd obviously realised I'd said something to his boy, and his boy Jamie must have said something to him. And he said, "Why don't you come on loan to me?" And I said, "Well, I would have done, but he never asked me." He was at Bournemouth at the time. Anyway, he had a bad accident I think it was the World Cup.
Italy. Yeah.
I can't remember what year it was, and I remember just ringing him and leaving him a message, and I hope you're okay, etc., as you do. And anyway, he was obviously in a bit of a bad way at the time, and from that phone call, I then rang him again when he got the job at West Ham, and I'd just gone released by Tottenham, and I went to Holland. And I was just about to sign for a team called the Grash Chap. I think that's how you pronounce it. And I'd rung Harry and said, "Look, I know you've just gone in at West Ham. Is there any chance coming in for a trial?" Left it at that. Didn't think nothing of it. This was probably on the Tuesday. On the Friday, I'm agreeing a deal with this team, and just before I go in to chat with them about a contract, Harry rings me up and says, "Come in for 2 weeks. Come in, or come in for a week. Sorry, in for a trial." I was like, "Wow!" So I've gone in for this meeting with a Dutch team, and I'm like, "Yeah, this is what I'd like." I went right over the top, thinking I'm going to get a right good deal here, knowing that I ain't signing because I'm going to go back to trial at West Ham. Anyway, I sort of said to him, "Look, can I put it on hold? I need to go home and speak to my wife. We just had a baby," and I did, and I came away, and I went into West Ham the following week, and it was brilliant. I had a great week. We played Leyton Orient at the end of the week, and I think I'd set a couple up, and I had a really good game. I trained well all week. They said come back next week for another week. I think we went to Exeter, did the same again, played really well. I remember setting Clive Allen up on that day. They offered me a year contract, and I was just over the moon, And I wonder whether I would have got that opportunity if I hadn't said to Jamie, "By the way, you can play in our team every week." And obviously ringing Harry around when he had his accident and stuff. So
it's funny though, but that's football, isn't it? It's like you said, it's these sort of sliding door moments, and you just got to take them with any opportunity you can get. And as I said, fulfilling your dream. Love the fact you sort of drove past every day. Thing is, every West Ham fan's done that as well. That's the thing. Yeah. So it's an incredible achievement to turn out. And obviously that season was a hell of. I mean, obviously that's the season that was my first season I got into West Ham, and with my granddad, God rest his soul, and that was one hell of a season. That was obviously promotion. We'll talk about that as well because that was cool. You mentioned Holland, obviously. As I said. I've just heard from the Anne Frank house. It's round the block in terms of West Ham fans wanting to get into there. So obviously we're in Europe. Obviously we've got the Europa Conference League's second leg of the semi-finals, but obviously in that 92-93 season, you had your own foray into Europe via the Anglo-Italian Cup. Obviously the first leg being against Southend. Never really understood that. But I mean, that was fun. Cremonese, I think Regina, I think Pisa as well. It must have been something a bit different for you in terms of playing away in Italy, West Ham and stuff?
Absolutely, it was. You know, I'd never played in Europe basically, so it was for me. It was a first. So it was a different experience. It was. I mean, we didn't get the crowds, if I remember rightly.
No.
There was hardly anybody that came to the game. To be fair, both home and away. So. But nice to travel, nice to see different parts of Italy, to be sure. So
Yeah.
no, it was a good experience. To be fair, I remember actually, when I left West Ham, I went to Charlton, and my first game, the first game was Peterborough away. We drew 2-2, and I came in as a sub. And the next game, I can't think who it was. We played at home, and some geezers one of their players has done me from behind, and really unlike me, I volleyed his head as he was on the floor and got sent off on my first game. So the Anglo tackling wasn't a particularly great time for me, to be quite honest. I got sent off on my first full game.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, I'm just looking at the figures. Yeah, when you played Cremonese away, there was 1,600 people there.
Yeah, it was. There wasn't. I remember it. If I remember rightly, and Cremonese, I'm sure. Was it Cremonese? I think we might have. I can't remember if we won. No, we lost.
Looks like we lost to Cremonese 2-0, I think, and then it looks like you beat Reggiana 2-0 in front of 6,500, and then Pisa was 0-0, and and obviously South
the
End.
one where we won 2-0. I think it was away from home. If I remember right, I think Clive Allen. I'm sure Clive scored or someone scored an absolute worldie. Like it was a brilliant goal.
He scored 2, I think, that day.
He did, yeah. He scored one hell of a goal, one worldie. Funny thing was, that was my first time, I think, to Italy, and I've gone, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this actually, but I've gone into the toilet. I needed to go to the loo. I've gone into the toilets, and I'm looking, and I'm thinking, there's no toilets in here, and I'm looking around, where are they? And like, all I could see were these holes in the floor, and I'm looking, and I'm like, where's the toilet? And they went, where is it? And we had to crouch down in a hole to have a look. Absolutely unbelievable. So that was a great experience. Ain't different.
Mental. Yeah, I think when we had Timmy Breaker, and he said something about the Cremonese game, and it was just ridiculous. And as you said, toilet. I think he mentioned the toilets as well.
Probably, right, okay,
probably did. Yeah. Oh God. but that's, as you said, that's part of the. You said it was a strange thing, the whole Anglo-Italian Cup, really, wasn't it? It was a very bizarre prospect.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I still don't know to this day how it worked. So
no, particularly when the preliminary round was against Southend, and then it's like, surely you're not playing anyway. Well, it was a foray into Europe, and obviously we're playing in Europe tomorrow.
Yeah.
Semi-finals, as you said, as a West Ham fan, it's I don't know, shitting myself a little bit up here, to be honest. I think.
I'm confident. I think we're going to be. I hope we're going to be too strong from tomorrow. And the boys are. I was watching training the last couple of days. They're in a really good place. They trained well these last few days, and they look really, really focused. And it's a great opportunity to get to a final, and it's a great opportunity to get into the Europa League next season.
Yeah, and obviously, great for your boys as well, potentially. So obviously, I mean, I've said it before, when you look at managers since Bill onwards in the Premier League era, Moyes has given more first team academy, run-outs, debuts than anyone else, really. And most of them are in, as you said, the Europa games, which is phenomenal. As you said, Ollie Bucharest, 16, hell of a debut, really. And obviously, in that 92-93 season, I think you played something like almost, I think 44 in 46 league games. I think you scored like 8 goals or something like that. And obviously, it went down for anyone who wasn't around at the time. It went down to practically the last game of the season. Cambridge at home. It was Newcastle had already run away with the league. It was us and Portsmouth. My mate was a Portsmouth fan. And obviously Clive scored, the goal which the place just erupted. Yeah. What was that like, being in that position, knowing A, what you had to do to go up into the Premier League for the first ever time, and B, actually happening? And obviously being a West Ham fan, doing it at Upton Park, it's like Roy the Rovers stuff, surely.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, the game before Swindon away, I felt that was the game I really felt that was the one we were up, because I always felt we'd win at home to Cambridge, but the Swindon away one was a tough game. They was a really good team.
Yeah.
But we won. We got a fantastic result there, and obviously going back to Upton Park for the final game. So listen, it was. You can't describe, as a fan, standing on the terraces and actually being involved in a game where you win promotion back to the Premier League
Yeah.
and being a part of that team. It makes the old hairs on the back of the neck stand up. Even today, it's one of the greatest feelings that I'll ever had in my life from football. And to watch Clive Dixie, I can remember it. The ball came inside. Dixie's made an overlapping run, like a third man run. He got played in behind, and he's rolled it across. And Clive's standing there, and he just taps it in, and all the fans are already on the goal line, if you like, to behind the goal. It was just phenomenal. I mean, it was just such a great feeling to know that you've played a part in something special, and it was really special.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I remember that game. I think I was in the West Lower, and I had this vivid memory of someone throwing over a rope ladder from the West Upper. And it's like I have these people walking down this rope ladder, and it's like it was just an absolute nutty game. And I mean, I think by the end, I think it was just it was just a hell of a thing. I think Swindon went up that season, didn't they, on the playoffs, didn't they? I think they got the playoffs. Was it them?
Do you know what? I can't actually remember who else. I know Newcastle obviously won the league. We came second. I can't think who it was who came back.
I think it was Swindon. I think it was Swindon. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I mean, as you said, then getting your club back into the Premier League and stuff. But that sort of looking. I mean, as I said, we had that thing on December, over Christmas, and just some of the characters, some of the stories. It was a hell of a team, and that's the thing. That's my era. So it's like yourselves and Gailey and Trev and Bish and even Dave. God loves Speedy. He was pissed, wasn't he, that Friday night? He was sick karaoke and stuff like that. Oh, do you know what? I loved it, and even Ludo and stuff like that. Yeah. Such a lovely bunch of guys. And I love the fact that, and there's certain, obviously, people tend to talk about, the 1980 FA Cup final team and boys of 86. But for me, just seeing all you guys in that 92-93 season, just like bantering with each other again, it's like, it shows what a special season that was for everyone, because it's like when you've got a really good friend and you don't see them for like a year, but as soon as you do, you're back into it. And it's just, I mean, what was that dressing room like with like Gailey taking the piss out of everyone and things like that?
To be fair, it was a great dressing room, and I think the fact as well, we won most games as well. So when you're winning, it is so much better anyway. But we had some great characters. Dixie, I mean, on the bus listening to Iron Maiden, and he just. The whole group, to be fair, we used to have nights out. The lads saying like night out, and it was everyone had to go. There was no, no one sort of was left behind. Everyone came, and we played hard, we worked hard. It was just a great group. It was a great season, great year to be a part of a special group, and so there's real character. Tony Gow, he's one of the funniest people I think I've ever met in my life, and he was no different then to what he is now. No. So,
but that lot isn't. It's like, as you said, it's like you've got Kevin's always been Kevin. Mad Dog's always been Mad Dog. He ain't changed. He hasn't. Hasn't changed a bit, and that's what I love the fact is everyone's got. It's almost like everyone had their own role in that squad. Bish being Bish. You had Morley. Trev being Trev, and just and again seeing them together in the thing, which is hilarious. It's brilliant. I love it. It's just brilliant. And he had like Ludo, who's just like so.
Yeah.
just Ludo. It's just like
I was actually with Ludo. I did. He asked me to go out to the Czech Republic and do a
brilliant.
coaching conference, and I did a couple of conferences out there literally last week. And he looks the same now as he did when he played. There's nothing of him. He's as lean and mean. He's
Crazy.
and but such a great guy, like top lad, as they all are. I ain't got anything bad to say any of that group. That was just a real good group.
Yeah, and obviously then the football takes you elsewhere. You said Charlton, and then the road comes back to West Ham as you know. So, I mean, when you got the call to come back, did you say, right, okay, I'm off? You know, what was that like to come back?
To be fair, I had a sort of bit of a tough time really. I lost my parents, both mum and dad, over a short period of time, and I was at Peterborough and I was driving backwards and forwards when my dad had bowel cancer, and it was really tough. And I knew the 23's job was available, and the funny thing was I rang Ricky Martin, who was the academy manager, and I said to Rick, look, talk about Connor Coventry, because Connor had come on loan. He hadn't played. It was he sort of the manager was picking the players that he had, and Connor was on the bench and he weren't playing. And I was just giving a bit of an update really around him and how he was doing and stuff. And I said, "Oh, have you got anybody in the 21s yet?" And he said, "No, not yet. Like going through the process." And I said, "Look, I'd be really interested if there was a chance." And to be fair to him, he said, "I didn't think you'd be because you're there." And I said, "No, I need to get back home. I want to get back home and be closer to my family, because just because of the situation, really." And it sort of come from there. And I sort of went for an interview, and luckily enough, and I'm so pleased I got it, because I've always wanted to come back to West Ham. There was a few times I've gone for a couple of interviews for some roles, and it didn't quite work out. And this one did, and I'm around the corner. I live in Upminster. I'm 10 minutes away from the training ground. It's just, I love it. I love it. I love getting up in the morning, going into work. I love working with the younger players, linking with the 18s, and obviously being in and around the first team as well, and trying to push players towards the first team manager. It's just a dream job for me.
It is, as you said. That's not a bad commute, is it? It's not bad a commute.
It's a good commute. It's one of the best ones I've ever had.
Yeah. I'm in Aldchurch. I'm only a little bit longer past the other way, but yeah. I have to go to Farringdon 2 days a week, but don't worry about me, Mark. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about that. But I suppose he lives with the line, ain't too bad. So as I said, with everyone we get on, we like to do this Hammers 11. So we spoke about some of the great characters, and as that particularly that 1993 side there's so many fantastic characters. But the idea of the Hammers 11 is to put together your 11, the players you played with during your time, at West Ham. And I think I'm going to love this one, because I think it's going to be as I said, it's my era. It's been 56 first team appearances, 9 goals in your career. I think. We try to do a 4-4-2. To be honest, I should probably do a 4-2-3-1, because that's all we do at West Ham. But I'll do 4-4-2 because that's the graphic I've got.
It's a definite 4-4-2. The team for me.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with the goalie. I think we could probably guess the goalie.
Ludo was just. Do you know what? He was a dream for me, because when Ludo when he used to come for crosses, when we were defending in the low block, Ludo would come for a cross, and as soon as I see him coming towards the ball, I used to start making my way. I used to start going, because I knew he's playing it, he's throwing it, or he's kicking it. He was a dream for a front man or a wide man, because you know as soon as he caught the ball, he's looking to play you in. And but he was just so agile. He was as fit as a fiddle. He used to bring beers in when he used to come back from the Czech Republic that were like rocket fuel. He was just a top lad, and then a great goalie. I mean, some of his saves that he's made, certainly that season, because I can still remember some of them. I remember one, he's full stretch, top corner, touched it round the post, like unbelievable save. He's just a really good goalkeeper, and had a great career at West Ham.
Yeah, he's like one of those. It was almost like a little bit ahead of his time, I thought. In terms of disrespect, we had obviously Parks in before, just a big man mountain of a goalkeeper. Where Ludo was more, although he was still very tall and still big. He's very slender, very just act, sort of very physical, very.
Yeah.
He had that sort of modern, and he always used to kick the ball really funny, sort of like on the side. He used to have this sort of throw his leg around. But oh yeah, love Ludo, such a nice guy. I used to remember because when I used to live in Loughton, and then the school I was at, we'd always play Forest, and his kid played for Forest, Martin, and and he was just as tall as Ludo, and so but yeah, good old.
His lad still is. It's funny. I was talking to him because his lad still lives in Loughton. I think he still lives that way. So
yeah. It was. I just remember he was just huge. He was just so tall, so tall. Right, we'll put Ludo in. Okay, let's go left back. I think we could probably get the left back.
Yeah, Dixie. Top player. Really good. Had probably one of the best left foots that I've seen, or certainly played with, and also as well, again, a really good person to play with because as a wide man, he'd give it to you and get round you. He's always supporting either behind or beyond. And the other good thing about Dixie was if I played right wing, me and Keeney used to have a little swap around. I used to go one side, and he'd go the other, and we'd sort of do it quite a bit. Dixie had the one of the best left foots to hit diagonals out to you, where you ended up with a 1v1. So top game, good player, and hard as nails. Always try to avoid him in training. Stay out of the way of Dixie. Did not want to get caught by him. Much with my little legs, I think he sort of looked after me a little bit. He used to hold off on me a little bit, to be fair to him. So I think he would have snapped me in half.
Yeah. I remember I said you scored. I remember I think it was the Oxford United game was my first proper game, and I said you scored the first goal I saw. Julie went, I scored 2 that night, Russ. I know you scored 2, but you scored the first one, and I remember that so vividly. I think Oxford scored after about 30 seconds. My granddad turned to me and went, this is your life now. And and that something just sticks, it's etched in my head now, just that thing. But top boy old Julian is. Love him. He's got his new book out. He's got his new book coming out this week.
I saw that. I read about that the other week.
Right, well, let's put him left back. Let's go for the right back then. Who'll be right back?
Timmy Breaker. Top player. Probably one of the fittest players I think I've played with. He was, to be fair to him, he always gave me the ball, and he always ended up past me all the time. He was, and I just used to roll him back in again. He was, and a really good lad as well. I used to room with Tim quite a bit. Good lad, really good lad. Great player. I thought had a really good West Ham career. I know he done well at Luton as well. Like I said, just all the time.
Yes, again, sort of like very much like the modern day fullback. He was just always wasn't a defender. Again, you look back, sort of previous fullbacks. You think someone like Ray Stewart who's more like a defender. Where Tim was very, very much push. Like what we'd expect a fullback to be now. Actually, I remember the last time I spoke to him, he dug out his 92-93. It still fits him. He found it. His 92-93 shirt. Bless him. He still found it there. And he put a wig on to make it, because same as you and me, Mark. He ain't got much hair, bless him now, has he? So he had his almost like Frank McAvenny-esque wig on. And he's like, I've got to take it off, Russ. It's itchy as hell. Oh, love him. We've got to get him back on. Right. Centre halves. Now you play some good centre halves. Some amazing centre halves. This would be who'll be your first centre half?
So Alvin Martin. Just top player again. We've got a young lad at the moment that reminds me of Alvin, and I hope that he can be just like him. Boy called Caelan Casey.
Yes, great shout.
Tall, lanky. He's really he's quite a thin lad at the moment. He's
really good on the ball. He's
really good, but he's got lots of. He reads the game really well. He puts his head on things. He's really brave. He reminds me of Alvin. If he can be anything like him, we've got a major player on our hands. And Alvin was just class. He used to take the mick out of players. Centre forwards, they used to come towards him, and he'd look like he was going to shape it down the line, and he just used to Cruyff it, turn out, pop it into midfield or step in. Top, really good player, really good centre half.
Yeah. And again, someone who's, as you said, yourself, you're a West Ham boy through and through. I mean, Alvin, not from around these parts, but still lives down the road.
Yeah.
Literally does still live down the road. So we put Alvin. Who's he going to partner?
It's got to be me buddy. It's got to be me buddy Stevie Potts.
Oh, yeah.
Pottsy, quick, not the biggest, but could spring. Decent, really good in the air, Steve, for someone his size. And mind you, I don't know if you noticed, but Steve's got the biggest calves I think I've ever seen. They are massive, and I can see why he had such a good spring. To be fair to him, but quick. Anything in behind, he used to eat it up, and no nonsense, Steve. Just a real solid lad, and again another player who had a fantastic career at West Ham. I'm very envious of him because the amount of games that he played for him. He's a for me big West Ham ledge.
But you score more goals than him, so it's all right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
900%, 800% more goals than Steve Potts with a 10th for the game. So there you go. You see, exactly. No, top. Yeah, as you said, obviously, you think of Potsy and you think of Breaker. Obviously, Potsy was a right back, and really, then Tim came in and he moved to centre half, and I think then you saw the Steve Potts that we saw for many years afterwards, because he just read the game so well. He don't have to be 6'5" to be.
No, he did, and I think as well that season there was. I mean, Gailey as well. I mean, Gailey was a really good football player, great football player. But I don't think Gailey played as many games that season as Steve and Alv, and it was probably more Alv and Steve that played throughout the season. To be fair, so. But yeah, I mean, he complimented, I think, Alvin, and he gave us that pacing behind if the ball's put in behind us. So and of course he's with Stevie as well. We've had his boys, two of his boys that have featured for West Ham, the club. Young Dan, who's obviously at Luton now, and Freddie, who's making his way in a game, and he's doing really well at the moment. And do you know what, Steve's he's his bloody worst critic. He gets onto it a little bit, and I have to sometimes say, look, leave him to me. I'll have him. I'll look after him. And he's doing really well. So it'd be great if he could follow in his dad's footsteps in the next.
They could both be in the Premier League, innit? Next season, Freddie definitely on the peripherals, and if Danny, Luton. I mean, there's a lot of West Ham boys there. Pelly and Reese and Henry Lansbury. So they were awesome. I thought Luton were fantastic.
Yeah, they were very good.
Ferocious, weren't they? Just didn't. Oh, Jesus. I thought, like, fucking hell. Kenilworth Road's going to be an interesting place to go to next season. Right. Okay. So there's a back four goalkeeper. Yeah. I'd have probably just named that as well. Let's go left wing.
Left wing. So I'm going to include myself. I'm going to have to.
Go for it.
I'll throw myself in quickly. It was when we went back to December. If you go back to December when we had the reunion, I was absolutely transfixed on the screen and watching every game. Yeah. And some lads are saying, I can't remember it, and I'm going, I'll tell you what happens here. I could tell you everything that happened on that video. It was still really clear in my mind, and me and Keeney, we created so many chances that season for others, as well as notching ourselves and getting on the score sheet. Absolutely, like I said earlier on, it was a fantastic season for me, and probably the best one in my career, and the most enjoyable. So I'd throw myself in there because I played most of the game. So
too bloody right, mate.
Yeah,
too right. And then, so if you're going to go left wing, your partner in crime got to be Keeney on the right side.
Yeah, Keeney on the right, and do you know what? I used to love Kev. I used to love going in the gym in the ball court at Chadwell Heath on a Friday. He was the best. Not only was he a good player on the 11 side, but he was the best five-a-side player in the gym ever. He used to play the ball against the walls, and he used to go off one wall off to another one, and as he just kept running, he used to drop to his feet, and I used to think, how do you do that? It's like his angles of things were just unreal. He was just a top player, Good player.
Yeah,
Runs all day and scores and creates and loads of energy and he's doing a lot of good stuff as well now with the younger players, which is brilliant.
Fantastic. Yeah, you're totally right. And I think what's always funny about Keane is his carpool was Mad Dog. I never got that. I remember they both told me like separate interviews. I was like, how does that work? And Mad Dog was like, yeah. And sometimes we'll just, we'll go via Romford, go to the snooker hall, watch Ronnie O'Sullivan train when he was like a kid. I'm like,
yeah. It was actually quite a strange couple, the pair of them.
Yeah, it is.
And even today, they're tight. But it was a weird old couple. But I think because of where they lived, it was obviously it was easy for them coming together and stuff. So
a friendship due to convenience, and it became a friendship, wasn't it? Really, but yeah.
Well, you got one person who is a very calm, organised, and then you got the other one who's just absolutely off the spectrum. It's in a good way, by the way. I love Mark.
Oh no, we do. Yeah, we do love him. We do love him. We talked the other day. It's like, what lounge you got? And he said he had like the Great Britain. I was like, a bit posh for me, Russ. I just want to have a beer, and no one wants to listen to my stories when I'm eating food. I love it. It's so funny.
They do want to listen to his stories because he is funny. Oh. The only thing is, you just don't know what's going to come out of his mouth.
No, you don't. We haven't had him pitch side for a few years. I'll just say that. I think the last time we had him pitch side, I don't know if I'd be surprised if he remembers this. To be honest, I think I did tell him this was back in the Upton Park, and God, it would have been I tell you what, it would have been 2006 maybe, when Thomas Hitzelsberger was playing,
right?
And he just scored at half time, and it was first half, and it wasn't Martin, it was Jeremy who was doing the interview, and he said, and Mad Dog, and he'd obviously be doing a bit of the corporate, enjoying a bit of the hospitality, and they'd ask him, okay, well, Martin, obviously, West Ham going 1-0 up, Thomas Hitzelsberger, great goal, and Martin went, yeah. And everyone was cheering for him, which was surprising because the last time a German came to East London, he bombed the place. And it went. So from then on, I don't think it's a coincidence that mine hasn't been on. Mad Dog been on since. Bless him. But I just remember that it was like, and I'm with the mic. I'm like, I'm just gotta let it go, innit? It's half time, so thankfully everyone got for their ball from it. But yeah, oh dear. And it is funny when you interview. I remember we used to do game shows occasionally, Robbo, and Kev would love them because Kev would win them.
Yeah, he's
good. He's clever, isn't he?
Yeah.
And we had him, and I think then we had. I think and Jonesy wanted to get involved, and he lost the first one, and so he phoned me up and he said, "Let's do another one." And we got break, and then I got Mad Dog along, and he phoned me up just before, and he went, "Russ, I need to ask, do you want Martin or do you want Mad Dog?" And I said, "Let's have Mad Dog." And I wish I hadn't. To get one good answer out of him, he kept on pretending his screen was frozen. And I said, "Martin, I can see your eyes blinking." Love it.
Oh, Mark,
top man. Oh, dear. Anyway, centre midfield. First centre midfielder.
Well, let's stick with Martin. Martin for me. He again played most of the season. It was funny actually because you had Martin, you had Peter Butler, who sort of two similar sort of players, really, both really tenacious. Put their foot in. Great for players like me because they used to do all that ugly work, if you like, and then give it to the ones who were the attackers, and they Martin really. I used to remember Martin. He's a really good talker. Really looked after me, in terms of where he wanted me to be. If I came back and like I was working a little bit too hard, he'd say, "Fuck off, get out. I don't need you here. Go a little bit higher." And he was just really good. Understood the game. Bright. He was. Martin for me, was in the middle of the park was the one of the engines, the main engines, and him and Peter really that really good. But for me, Bish was the one in the middle of the park when he played, just technically left foot, right foot, and as a wide player, you knew when he got it and he opened up, it was coming. You know, you'd be ready for it and you'd be on your way. And yeah, he had that ability to not only play short and quick and round the corners and link the game, but he could hit them bigger balls where he'd put the wide players in 1v1 situations, in dangerous situations. So I'd have to go with Martin and Bish.
Yeah, I think Martin. I think his reputation meant that people didn't realise what a good player he was, because he was Mad Dog. He was the Mad Dog, and actually, he was a bloody good player. It's like
He was
Julian.
really good.
It's like Julian's reputation. I think outside of West Ham went ahead of him. I think so. With Martin, actually, they're both fantastic players, and I think with Bish as well. I think Bish was maybe a little bit ahead of his time. You know, I think he'd fit into the modern game now, really.
Yeah,
Obviously
he was.
not obviously not now, because he's spending his time getting pissed in Florida. But apart from
I
that,
know what you mean,
it's just he just. Well, he was there the other day. A few weeks ago, he was here, wasn't he? He was at the game.
He was. He came to one of the games at
Yeah.
the stadium. Yeah.
He said, "He went, hello, Russ." I went, "What are you doing?" He was, "Well, I got fucking banned from Upton Park. Might as well go try and get chat on the stadium as well." I was like,
Jerry ain't changed neither, Bish.
No,
like,
no,
I looked,
no.
when I saw him, and he just reminded me of. He still looks like he tries to look like, I think he's still 25 with his clubber, but he's just such a great, again, another great lad. And you know, he was a part of the, obviously, in terms of the team and the group doing stuff together as a group. Bish was obviously a major part of that, and he kept it, you know, on the social side, he kept everyone in hysterics. Let's put it that way.
Certainly did, yeah. I think Morley called him. I think Trev said he used to call him Polo, because he's like literally always have a pack of polos in his pocket in case Billy came up to him, and he was like, no, they were extra strong mints, Russ.
Yeah.
Love it. Right, okay, nice midfield, brilliant. Okay, up front, who's your first striker?
First striker, I go Trevor Morley. Brilliant season. Brave man. Would really throw himself. You know, you put balls in the box and he'd be there getting on the end of them. I can't remember the game, but I think he got concussed in one game where he's gone in and got hurt. You know, someone's, I think, volleyed his head. I think as he scored. By the way, he scored as well at the time. I can't think of the game now, but but also as well, Trev, really good hold-up play. You know, he held it up well. He was strong. He brought others into the game. He was really good in the air. He'd win his headers. He'd flick-ons. He was very good.
He was, yeah. And again, good laugh as well.
Great lad. Him and Bish. I mean, I couldn't believe that when we did the thing back in December. The banter that they had around all the controversy around what that's. I mean, I walked into that I just come into the club and I was thinking, oh God, like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And listen, let me tell you, I knew within a week. Yeah, all right, good one. These two, like, no chance. That is so not there. I mean, and they were just so good. I mean, they're just like again, in terms of the group and going out, they were the life of the party. They were brilliant, the pair of them.
Well, we had, I think, Trev did one of Ian's events, and it was with, I think Gailey was the compere, and obviously Trev hadn't done a lot since then. That was before the December one, and he hadn't. Trev obviously he's in Norway all the time, isn't he? And so he came back, and obviously everyone else is looking a bit dishevelled, and he's looking tanned and like he does. And he had I think we had Brian was there, and I think Crossy was there, so it was like a real, you know, older gentleman, and then obviously the chiseled Norwegian, and literally Gailey Richham a new one the whole game. It was like he was talking to Brian. He was like, Brian, so tell us about Bobby Moore and winning the 1965, you know, the European Cup final. Crossy, tell us about the FA Cup and winning the FA Cup. Tony Cotty, tell us about the 85-86 season. And he goes, Trevor, tell us about that goal you scored against Farnborough Town in the FA Cup. Literally, it's so funny. But he was telling a story afterwards, obviously, when he came back from the stabbing, that Julian hid all the knives, so you didn't have there wasn't a knife in the canteen. It's like, I love those stories. So
Uh,
funny. Right. Okay. Last player. Who's Morley going to partner up front?
Probably with one of the best finishers that I've played with, seen, Clive Allen. He was Clive was just he was ruthless in front of goal. He just knew where the goal was, yeah, he could link. He was a good link player. You could get it into him and get it back off of him, and you knew that when you got it and you got your head up, he was making a run somewhere where you could play him in. He just his finishing was unreal, and his work ethic on the training ground, finishing every day, always done extra finishing. You know, he even coming at the back end of his career, he was still somebody that took pride in. I need to do more. I need to work hard, and learned a lot from him. As a player and as a coach, really, because something that you take on I took on in my coaching career, what he did after the extra bit of work that he did, and he just scored goals wherever he went. And that season, him and Trev were, wow. I mean, you know, you talk about team spirit, and you know we had a good team spirit, but what we did have is we had goal scorers in the team, and I think when you got goal scorers in the team, you're always going to be successful. And you know, we were decent at the back, stopping them going in, but we was even better at putting them in a goal. And them two up top were absolutely awesome that season.
Brilliant, weren't they? Brilliant. And there's your 11. Oh, I'll tell you, that takes me back. That side, that side takes me back, Marco. It really does, man. Right, there's a few questions, and then we'll start getting and then we'll finish and start shitting ourselves for tomorrow night. So let's see what we got here. Let's get some nice questions. Let's get what we got. Okay. We'll do a few. Mark said, I used to watch you at the start of your career playing at Exeter from the Cowshed. What a career you've had. There we go. Very good. How different is it for youngsters today against when you started out, Mark, from others?
I think it's a lot harder today. It's a lot harder trying to get players. If I'm looking at us in the Premier League, it's really hard to get players playing in the first team in the Premier League, because when you go back, squads were nowhere near as big as what they are now. I mean, the squads now are first team squads of 25, maybe 28. Some are bigger. And I think going back when I first started out, you'd probably have a squad of 18 tops, and then the rest were made up with the younger players. So there was more opportunities, I think, in my day to get an opportunity. I think it's a lot harder today with just because of the number of players, really. And I think lower down it's different. I think when you go down to, I mean, I worked at Peterborough in League One, and we moved into the Championship. When you're lower down, I think again your squads are not as big as the Premier League, but they have there's almost a priority to play some of the younger players. So there's a young boy at Peterborough called Ronnie Edwards who came into the club. We got him for nothing from Barnet when they folded their academy, and Ronnie got into the team. The first season I was there, he got into the team at the back end of the season, and he played in the Championship, and he's been in the team ever since. And he might not have got that maybe in the Premier League, but he's now established, and he's probably a player that Premier League clubs are looking at.
You're probably right. And actually, it's funny. We've had obviously the success of the under 18s. When we did a show with the 99 squad, and we've spoken to a lot of players who have, you know, sort of maybe been on the peripherals of West Ham first team during their career, like Lee Hodges and people like that. And you know, you talk like to Adam Newton and Izzy Ickpen, and these guys were like earmarked at 18, 19 as being the future, and eventually it didn't work out. There might be injuries, as you said, or now players. I was talking to Tim the other day, and he was saying the trouble is now is particularly the foreign players. You know, you could go to France and get someone who's the same age who's already got 100 league appearances under his belt, and it's so tricky to try and get. You know, we want to see, as you said, you want to see the academy players be playing regular football, and as you said, maybe you look at someone like Ben Johnson, who's I think he's made like 80 appearances now in the first team. I mean, that's where obviously you want to be where Declan Rice is, but you know, at least 50, 60 appearances. And as you said, there's a whole bunch there. And it's tough. It's tough going for them, that's for sure.
It is tough. And I think the key for us is that when they get their opportunities, like they have done, none of the boys have let us down. They've played the first season I came. There was Manny Longello. The back four actually was Manny, Agi Alessi, Jamal, and Harrison Ashby, and Sonny Perkins actually played up top. And in the home game, and if I remember that game really clear. I'd only been in the job for about 2 weeks, and Manny Longello was fantastic. He played really well. I thought he was our best player on the night. And you hope that he maybe gets a little bit longer, maybe another opportunity. And that didn't quite happen for Manny. And he picked up a little injury around a couple of months later. So his time playing was limited the back end of that season. But you just hope that when they get the chance, like Freddie Potts came on this year against Larnaca. We had the game away where Kalen Casey came on, Kamari Sawyers came on, Ollie Skull started, Divine started, and Divine's obviously had a few more games now. You just hope that when they get their chance, they leave an impression that's a good one, and they get another opportunity, and you hope that something can build from that, Russ. That's the cue, and that's how it sometimes works, and that's how I do believe we've got some really good players, coming through the system. Certainly next season, with the group from the 18s that Kevin and his staff have been working with, it's going to be a really good group, and we've got to be very hopeful that we can get some of them players playing for West Ham. That's the dream.
Yeah, and I think that you're totally right. I think we had Tony Khan on the other, because I think, as you said, when we had the sort of the exodus, when you had like Harrison and Sonny and Alesi, and there was lots of talk about the academy, and actually, it was, as you said, the primary goal is to provide for the first team, and as you said, it's having those opportunities, but having those regular opportunities. It's all right, as you said. I think, as we said, like Moisey, I think 16 academy players he's given first team debuts to, but the majority being cup. I think the only one is in Gaki. I think he put in Liverpool at home or something. Poor Jeremy. But as you said, it's now getting them, and I think next season there's definitely opportunity. And I'm not going to say Budgie's one because we've already said that. But I was good. Anton, he was meant to join, but his kids, he's got a little baby, but he sent me this picture. Look at it.
Come on, that shirt. Wow. Look at that.
I know. And Anton, and the funny thing is, where you've got no hair like me, and Anton's got no hair. Now Anton's got like a man. He's got loads of hair, so it's like he's got all Benjamin Button on us. But I had to put it up because I just thought I'd take the piss out of him. Mark, man, it's been an absolute pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much, and hopefully, win tomorrow. Sunday be a good win, and hopefully we'll all go down the supporters club for a pint afterwards.
Brilliant.
That'd be nice. Anyway, mate, thank you so much. I'll let you go, and then I'll say goodbye, and I'll see you on Sunday, my friend.
Russ, thanks for inviting me. Real pleasure. Really enjoyed it, and good luck to everyone associated with West Ham for tomorrow. And let's hope we can get to the final way. It'd be brilliant.
Exactly. And you can tell Steve what a lovely time you've had, and we'll get him on.
I will do. All right, mate.
All right, take care, man. See you soon.
Russ. Thank you.
Man. And that was Mark Robson. Oh, Robbo, good fun. Good fun. Mark gave me the man of match for the game. Oh, there Anton turns up right at the end. There we go. Top man. What a lovely bloke. And really interesting talks about his perception of the under 23s as well in terms of the academy. I think that's really, really important to understand where he's coming from in terms of development. I think, as you said, the 18-21 seem to be really well, or 18-23s, where 21-23s, they seem to be really well adjusted in terms of a unit by the sounds of it, and a hell of a side. Really took me back to my youth, so to speak. As I said, if you're new around here, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a subscribe. Tell your friends. We'll put a few clips up of it, some funny things we'll put up and put them on Twitter, so you share them, all that stuff be good. Tomorrow, we've got a packed day, as you can imagine, with the semi-finals. Oh my God. The semi-finals of the conference League second leg. We go with 2-1 aggregate score. You don't need to remind of that. You know it full well. Obviously, we're playing AZ Alkmaar at the AFS Stadio. Lots of people already travelling over there. As I said, the queue for Anne Frank's house is around the block by all accounts. So many West Ham fans wanting to get their bit of culture. And hopefully we could make it 2 English clubs through to the finals. It looks like, Man United, Man City, rather. Awesome day for them today, even if they're fans. And obviously, we do have like a fair sort of, relationship, us and them. So fair play to City getting through to the final, cruising past Real Madrid, and they'll be playing. We could both be playing Italian clubs if Fiorentina get through and overturn their 2-1 aggregate score away to FC Basel. And obviously we'll be playing, if we get through, either Basel or Fiorentina. 4-0 they beat Real Madrid. Wow. 2 for David Silva, 1 for Akiani, and 1 for Alaves, Julio Alaves. Remember him? We should have got him. Anyway, as I said, tomorrow we've got loads of stuff. We'll have Holly's show, I think, first thing in the morning. 10 things you need to know about the game coming up. And then we'll do at lunchtime, we'll have our predicting 11s. And then we'll have the watch alongs, all that type of stuff, taking you all the way through, hopefully, to the final. That'd be nice. Thank you very much for your time, everyone, as per usual. And as I said, if you're new around here, if you like what we do, like, comment, share, all that stuff is free. Or maybe if you want to contribute to the channel, hit the join button and become a channel member, and you get into awesome draws. You get loads of free content, extra content as well. It's not free, obviously, you pay for that bit. I do need to send Bedfordshire Hammers his signed West Ham shirt. I've got it there. I need to sign it. I'll do it tomorrow. And we'll have another one for June for another signed West Ham shirt from the potential Europa Conference League winners. Wow. Could be.
I found this on the web.
He's found it on the web. So anyway, so take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.